guys, in this video we're going to talk about AICE History Paper 2 Question B. If you're looking for any information on Paper 2 in general or Question A, please check out the other video, AICE History Paper 2 Question A. It'll have all the information you need to know. So for this video, it's going to be just the same as the other AICE History paper videos. So we're going to start with some basic information on Question B. We're going to look at the rubric in depth, we're going to go over formatting, and then we're going to wrap up with some tips and things to remember. So let's go ahead and get started. Your paper 2 question Bs are going to give you a statement. Your task is to support and challenge that statement. So it might only ask you how far do you agree with that statement, and let's say you completely agree with it, you don't think it's wrong at all. You can't just only support the statement, you have to challenge it. So you're going to be given a statement, and then you have to give historical evidence that supports that statement as being true, and also you have to do another paragraph where you're giving historical information that challenges the validity of that statement. We'll get into detail with that whenever we talk about the rubric and the formatting, but that's just the general gist of what you have to do for all of your paper 2 question Bs. They're all giving you a statement that you have to support and challenge, and that's the gist of it. These are worth 20 points each. Remember, you have to answer 2 of them. So you can get a grand total of 40 points on your question Bs. Now, because these are the ones that are worth the most points, I would suggest that you take more time with these. Your paper 2 gives you an hour and a half to answer your 2 question As and your 2 question Bs. I would budget yourself 30 minutes each for your question Bs, so an hour total to make sure you answer both question Bs here, and that should cover you pretty well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rubric so that we're getting in depth on how you actually answer these question Bs. Your question B rubric goes up to from a level 0 all the way up to a level 5. This is like your paper 1 question B also was up to a level 5. So for the actual rubric here, I didn't even put the level 0 on here. We've gone over that a couple times in the other videos. You basically did nothing and you get no points. For a level 1, you're giving descriptive or partial responses. You might be loosely on the actual material in the question. You're slightly descriptive. You're kind of there, or you're kind of talking about what the question is actually about. So they'll give you 1 to 5 points depending on how much you've actually given for the actual response. A level 2 is a response that shows some understanding of the question. You get 6 to 9 points here. So you've got an idea of what the question's actually answering and or asking you, and you're trying to answer it. So you're just describing some of the events that would support the statement without actually, or challenge the statement, without actually truly linking it to the question at hand that you were expected to answer. Level 3, 4, and 5 is once again the passing range here. For your level 3, it says that your responses will which begin to develop assessment, so you can get 10 to 14 points here. To get a level 3, you basically have to write 2 paragraphs here, and that's to give a paragraph where you're supporting the statement in the question with evidence, so you know historically what events, which people, which acts, what have you, support the claim in the statement. And then you have a challenge paragraph where you're basically doing the same thing. You're challenging the statement and the prompt with good historical evidence of people, events, laws, bills, what have you, that challenge the statement. So here you're not really going in depth though. You're not balanced. Maybe you're giving way too much on support and not enough on challenge, so you don't really have a solid grasp of the content here, but you basically got the gist of it, so you get in that passing range and you can get 10 to 14 points here. Moving on up to level 4, this is whenever you begin to develop a balanced argument. So what you're doing here is everything you did in level 3, plus you've gotten better development than what you would have for level 3. So you've got a fully well-developed paragraph for support with lots of great evidence, and also a very well put together challenge paragraph with very well thought out evidence. Reading them, you know what you're talking about, you've thoroughly answered it, and it's like they say here, a balanced argument. You can go either way on which one's right, the support or the challenge, because you provided enough evidence for both. Also here, you're actually going to begin to form your own opinion and make your own statement, or judgment rather, on the actual event in the prompt. If you notice on some of the questions that would say that how far do you agree? Well, do you actually agree? Remember, write in third person, never in first person. But here's whenever you can put down a third paragraph that says, is the statement accurate? Is the statement inaccurate? And really argue your point here. That's what that little bit here about taking a stance here or making a judgment is. Up to level 5 is you've developed a sustained judgment here. So this is, you've got your solid support paragraph with lots of great evidence that shows that you know what you're talking about, that really has to do with the support for that statement. You've got a second paragraph that's really, really well developing that challenge with lots of great evidence that's on point historically there. And then you've been very clear, very strong evidence that then draws a conclusion where, like I said, you kind of answer that question, how far do you agree with the statement in that prompt? Where you've stated you agree with the statement in the prompt, and you've explained why here, and really with strong evidence that, let's say, the statement and the support for the statement is more thorough and accurate than any challenge for the statement. So where you're really stating your support's correct or your challenge is correct, and here is why. With once again, you've got that well-developed, supported historical evidence to back you up. Like with any of the ACE papers here, getting from that level 3 on up to that level 4 and that level 5 takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of practice. So you're probably not going to put together level 5s first time you're writing these. This is going to take a lot of practice throughout your coursework, making sure that you're getting a handle on what you need to do to get the higher marks here on this rubric. Formatting for your question B for your paper 2 is pretty much the same as for your question A for paper 2. You need 3 paragraphs here. If you do them well, that's all you really need here. So for your first paragraph, like always, it's your strongest argument. This is either your support or challenge, whichever one you're going to end up siding with and which one you think is your strongest point, you're going to make that your first paragraph. Your second paragraph is going to be your weaker argument. So your, once again, support or challenge. So let's say for your strongest paragraph was your challenge. So for your first paragraph, you're going to do your challenge argument, and for your second paragraph, you're going to support the statement in the prompt. And you're going to wrap it up with a third paragraph, which explains why the argument in paragraph 1 is better for the answering the prompt than paragraph 2. So you're basically explaining why your support, the support for the statement, is stronger than the challenge for the statement, or vice versa. So one paragraph for support or challenge. Your second paragraph is whichever one you didn't do in paragraph 1, support or challenge. And your third paragraph is basically your stance on the actual prompt, which is why paragraph 1 is a better response than paragraph 2, is essentially is how to word that. Now, when you're actually formatting each one of these paragraphs, I'm going to give you a hint here about what to do. And it's going to sound silly, but trust me, you'll actually remember this. And that is, whenever you're writing your paper 2 question Bs, you need to pee all over that question B. You need to provide a point, evidence, and evaluation. So you pee for each paragraph. Now, what I mean by that is let's actually look at an example so you can see how you would pee here. So let's look at this question. To what extent does President Wilson deserve the title the Great Peacemaker? This would be a great potential question for a American or an international type style question here. So let's go ahead and start with our support for this one with P. So our point is that he does deserve the title the Great Peacemaker. Now, if you want to make this a stronger one, you could put to what extent does he deserve it, like strongly, weakly, partially deserves the title the Great Peacemaker. Your evidence, provide evidence like the 14 points, the League of Nations, and then give your evaluation. Explain how, which basically means linking it to the question. So explain how the 14 points and the League of Nations showed that Wilson was a great peacemaker. So you're providing your point, you're giving your evidence that supports that point, and you're evaluating how that evidence links back to the statement in the question. Now, to challenge that, your point here would be that he does not deserve the title the Great Peacemaker. So once again here, you're going to want to explain potentially to what extent, so strongly, weakly, so on and so forth. Your E for your second, your E there is evidence for your first E. So you might say the United States involvement in World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, and the United States and the League of Nations, and eventually World War II. And then you evaluate it. You explain how all of those pieces of evidence links back up to the question that would show that he does not deserve the title of the Great Peacemaker. If you do those 2 things in those 2 paragraphs, that is a level 3. If you do it well now, you explain it. That's level 3 right there, just those 2 paragraphs. So you can P for the 3, might be the rhyme you want to go remember there. But we don't just want a level 3 here. We want to shoot for that level 5 if possible, at minimum level 4. Get all those points we can so we can make sure we pass our ACE exam. So you would throw that 3rd paragraph in, and that here is what you would pick which one side of the argument that you feel is correct. Remember, you do not have to be right. You just have to support your statement. And you argue that in a 3rd paragraph. So you would explain that, see here, why the argument that Wilson does not deserve the title The Great Peacemaker is a better argument than that he deserves it. So you've basically, just to sum it up, you explain why he deserves the title, why he does not deserve the title, and then take your stance. And that's basically all you have to do for the formatting for your paper 2 question Bs. Now, as far as tips and tricks here go for your question B, they're pretty much the exact same as your paper 2 question A. You're basically doing the same thing here as far as tips go. The first one is, of course, to do your planning in your answer book, as I explained in the paper question A video. The ACE examiners will read, or scores rather, will read every single thing you put in the answer book. So write out your P, like I showed you in the example. Actually write that out in your answer book. By writing that out, and if you also put the acronyms there, or maybe write it out like point, evidence, evaluation, you're really showing your strain of thought here, or where you're going with the with your thought here and with your argument. So it makes it clear what you're trying to do, and you can definitely pick up points this way. So write your planning in your answer book, and of course, if you're running out of time, bullet points. Give yourself 30 minutes per question B for 1 hour total with both question B's answered. That includes the time that you have taken to read the question plan and actually write it out. Only 30 minutes per question. And of course, study. There are no extra little things here like with your paper 1 where you have sources that you can read and evaluate. You do not have that here at all, so you have to study. Like I said before, some students pick 2 chapters and study those really well. I'd recommend at least looking over a 3rd one, because you could get a question on your test that you just somehow did not prepare well for, or it's worded in a way that's confusing you. So I would probably pull a 3rd one out of these topics or chapters if you're using the Cambridge book to really study in depth to make sure you're getting all the possible points you can. That's basically it for your ACE History Paper 2 Question B. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to them. Thank you for watching.